Hello, and welcome back to Youth Code Jam's online Bits and Bytes lessons. Today we'll be working in Scratch. I don't think we've mentioned this before, but you can work with Scratch online in a web browser like Chrome or Firefox, or you can download a free software installation and work on it offline. So you don't have to be connected to the internet to work on this, and because we provide activity sheets whenever possible, you can also just download those and work from them. So if you're not able to always have internet access, there are some alternatives that you can do to work on these activities. So today's lesson is geared towards 3rd through 6th grade. Younger students are encouraged to try it out. I think they'd be able to do it if we were meeting in person. They, with a little guidance from the instructors like myself, they would be able to do just fine with it, and older students are welcome to try it out if they want to. But let's go ahead and go through our housekeeping stuff. So we're having a little change to our schedule. We will still post regular Bits and Bytes lessons on Mondays for the next 4 weeks and hold live sessions Tuesdays and Thursdays. Our Wednesdays, we have a partnership coming up that we're going to be announcing in the next couple days. But our Wednesday lessons are going to look a little different. They're not going to be Bits and Bytes, but part of a different program. We're really excited about what's coming up, and we think it will be a lot of fun for kids. The only thing I'm going to say about it is this upcoming program is geared towards students age 5 and up. So there's a lot of opportunity for them to work independently or with a sibling or a friend if somebody's nearby, or parents are also encouraged to work like co-pilot with their student. It's going to be really fun and we're really excited about it, but I can't really say anything else right now. But pay attention to our social media because we'll start announcing that early next week, or early this week really. Okay, so I'm going to head on over to our website real quick. So if you've been following this for a while, you know that we have our Bits and Bytes Coding Club page on our website. So just go to youthcodejam.org, head to the Jam at Home tab, and then Bits and Bytes Online is right there. So the most recent activity will appear at the top of the page, and if there's accompanying material, it will appear down here as well. We didn't have any for this lesson, but we try to include as much information here for you as possible. This will be updated with the next date. However, we have all the sessions set up for the next, I think about for the next month. So you can go ahead, and if you click on this button, it will take you to our active page, and you'll be able to sign up for anything that's available for Bits and Bytes, and you will receive reminder emails when it's time for the live session for that day. And these live sessions, it's taking a minute to load. But here's our active page. So you'll see the one for Monday's lesson, which is the lesson I'm doing right now, is up here. And you guys can register for these even on the day of. So this one is for Tuesday, May 26th. If you decide that you want to join us and it's before 4 o'clock that day, you will get an invite list. We check registration frequently, and there's not really a cutoff time period until 4 o'clock. So you have until 4 the day of the live session to register. Again, it's free. You'll just receive emails with the invitation code and password. These sessions are if we need to go through the activity because either the video wasn't working or something in the video wasn't clear, or you just want to work through it with someone, that's fine. These sessions are really for our students, and they really get to decide how they run. If they just want to come in and it's casual and they want to talk to us about what they did or what other things going on or school, they're welcome to do that too. They can also work on, it doesn't have to be just lesson 21. It can be any of our past lessons. It can be a personal project they're working on. We are probably not going to help with schoolwork just because we don't want to get into that gray area of doing it for them. But if they're working on something on their own time, we're happy to take a look at it and provide guidance if we can. Okay, so I think that's all the housekeeping we need to know. So let's go ahead and go to Scratch. And let's get started on today's activity. So So I'm going to make my browser a little bigger. So I'm signed in automatically. You don't have to be signed in for Scratch. You don't have to have an account unless you want one. So if you do, create one with a parent's permission or an adult's permission. So we're going to go over here and hit the create button. My internet's being a little slow, so we'll just give it a minute. I am going to have the PDF pulled up over here. This isn't yet on the site, but it will be by the time this video is live. So I'm going to have it pulled over here to the side. And I'm going to flip back and forth between the browser here and the activity sheet. And I'll list the instructions as we go. But today we're going to be making projects based off of the Gruffalo book. So we're going to be doing a maze and help the Gruffalo navigate through this maze. And we're actually, so I guess for this one we will need an internet connection, because we're actually going to show you how to safely download something from the internet. So pay attention to those steps, because that could be where it gets a little tricky. But let's go ahead and get started. So we have our new workspace in Scratch, totally blank. If you have an account, it will have a name up here. If you want to save it, you can go ahead and give it a name. I'm just going to leave mine as Untitled 5 right now, because I don't really need to save it, and I'll probably go in and delete it later. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to choose a background. And in the past, we've selected backgrounds that are all preloaded or that already exist in the library. Today, we're going to make our own. So go ahead, and you're going to hover over the choose a background icon, and then you're going to hit the paintbrush. And we're going to do two things here. We're going to change our fill color. So you can do, this example uses kind of a maroon and an orange color. You do not have to stick with these colors. I will explain how to make them work with different colors, but you'll have to make sure that, you can see over here, you will need 3 distinct different colors. So if you do this dark red, then this red needs to be different, and this is an orange. So we're going to do 3 very different colors, because our program is going to be based on sensing the colors that our sprite is touching. So if that's a little confusing right now, it'll make more sense when we get through the code. But to fill our square, we're going to come over here and hit the paintbrush. And if you come up to the top in the middle, you'll see the paintbrush icon and a 10. We're going to click in that and change it to a 100. So I was able to do that by just adding a 0 when I clicked. You might have to type out the whole number. And then, like I said, we're going to pick our fill color. So I'm going to change mine to kind of a dark blue. So I'm going to move this top slider over to the left to get it more into the blue range. And I want it darker than what it's currently at here. So I'm going to do 2 things, because I don't want it to be a pale blue. I want it to be a dark, more saturated blue. So I'm going to pull it over here towards the right. And then on the brightness, because I want it to be kind of a navy blue, I'm going to pull it towards the black. And you see we kind of get that navy blue color. So that's going to be my fill color for the paintbrush. And now you can see that I have this little circle, and I'm just going to go, it doesn't matter if you go outside the lines, because it's only going to see the color, only going to see what's on that square. So I'm not going to worry too much about the fact that I'm going everywhere. It just makes things a little easier. Okay, so now that I have that down, I'm going to switch back to our code background, I think. Well, hold on, let's stay in backdrops for a minute. But I forgot to, we need to delete this sprite. We don't want that sprite. So go ahead and delete him. We're going to make our own with the cat. And let's go take a look at step 3. Okay, so now we're going to do the maze, and we're going to still have the background. So we haven't hit the code part yet. We're still going to be doing our maze. So we're going to select the line tool and use a different color, again of your choice. But we want it to be different than the background. It cannot blend or be too similar to the background. So for mine, I'm probably going to use a purple because I like the color purple. We're going to change the line to a size 100, and we're going to kind of make this funny 5. That's more of a 5 or an S shape. And we're going to end it with 2 circles. So back in Scratch, I'm going to hit the circle button first, actually. And I want it to be a purple color. So I'm going to pull, to start, I'm going to pull brightness all the way back to 100 and leave saturation where it is. And then on the color slider, I'm going to slide it over till I get kind of in the purple area. And I'm going to make it just a little lighter because I want there to be contrast between the background. And then I'm going to, I don't want the outline on my circle, so I'm going to come down here and hit this box with the red line going through it. That usually stands for no fill or no outline color. So we're going to hit that. And then I'm going to, so this is not a stamp like the paintbrush was. This is, we're going to draw the circle. So if you want to draw a perfect circle, you can hold down the shift key or hold down the corner of your, the left corner of your trackpad, and then with your other pointer finger, click and draw. If you're using a mouse, just hold down and draw. So that's going to give me about a perfect circle. I'm good with that. So, and then to move it, if you try and click on this right now because the circle's active, you're going to end up drawing a second one. So what we're going to do is we're going to click the arrow over here on the left, and I'm just going to reposition it here. Before we draw the maze, I'm going to copy this. No, I'm not. We're going to leave that alone for now, actually. We're going to draw our maze first. So it said to use the line tool. So we're going to do the line. And we're going to make it the same color, our line the same color as our starting point. So I'm going to come here and use this drop down. And across from where we did no fill on the circle, there's this eye drop on the right. So we're going to click that and then come down here to the purple and click it with that big circle that was active. And that's going to set our outline to the bright color so that they're matching. And then click in the box next to the outline and type in 100. And now you just click where you want it to start. So I'm kind of starting on the end here. And I'm going to pull it out like this. So I'm not going to worry too much about it being a perfectly straight line. So that was one line, and then I turned. So that's how we're getting the corner. So I drew one line across. I lifted my finger. I held down again and drew this one and lifted. So now I'm clicking down with my mouse or my trackpad. I'm drawing across. And now I'm releasing, and that draws the line. So click down, draw, release. Click down, draw, release. Okay, so we've got our shape. And now I'm going to go back here to this arrow and click on our circle. And I want to copy it. So you can do a couple things to copy. The easiest for beginners with Scratch might be to come up here and hit this copy button. Otherwise, you can also do, if you have a Windows computer with your keyboard, you can do a Control-C, and that will copy the circle, and then you'll hit Control-V. If you have a Mac, that command, it would be your Command key, so Command plus C, and then Command plus V to paste. But it might be easier right now just to click on the circle and do copy and then press paste, and you'll see you get the same thing there. I'm going to drag it to the end, and now I'm going to choose my third color. Remember that these colors can be your choice, but they need to be 3 different colors. So your background's one color, your starting point and your maze is a second, and then our end point is a third. So for the end, I'm going to do I think I'm going to do a pink. Let's do a pink color. That way we know we're at the end, right? Actually, no, I like teal. So I'm going to scroll back here till I get to kind of that greenish blue area. And then in the brightness, I'm going to make it a little darker. Yeah, I like that. Those are colors I like. All right, so now that we have our background set up and our maze existing, we're going to head back to the code tab. So over here in the left part of your screen, hit the code. And let's go visit our activity sheet again. So now we're going to use in our browser, but in a new tab or a new window, we're going to look online for a Gruffalo picture with a transparent background. And that's exactly what we're going to type in is Gruffalo character transparent. And we're gonna look for something that looks like this. Okay, so I'm gonna open up a new tab, and I just did that by hitting the plus sign. There's other ways, and with most browsers, you can go to File, and then there will be options like New Tab, New Window. Choose whichever one of those you want. I like New Tab because then I'm not having to, like I am with the PDF and the browser, I'm not having to go back and forth and have all the layers. I just have everything in this nice row, which you can see is very busy on mine. And so I'm going to type in, oops, Gruffalo character, and yours doesn't have to be capitalized. I'm just copying what I saw on the activity sheet. Okay, so we had one. So you can see on these previews here that have kind of those squares in the background, that's normally a sign that it's transparent. And I'm actually going to click on this top line that says image is transparent. And did we flip? I think that might be, yep, that's the same one. So we're going to use this one from highclipart.com. Okay, so a couple things before I download this. When we borrow things online, there's normally something called copyright. So that means you can't necessarily use anything you want for free. There are rules to using things. The exception here is that this is, number one, for educational purposes, and number two, we're not making any money off of it. So in this situation, we're allowed to use this image without having to worry about paying somebody for it. But that means that we still, if we could, we would do attribution. So we would always say, I got it from this site, or I got it from this person. And you can see that a lot, especially with web design and your school projects, right? Some of you may have done papers or projects where you've had to cite who actually created what you used, or who came up with the facts that you used, or stuff like that, in papers or in reports. So it's the same thing online. We don't just steal. We will give attribution wherever we can. And if we can't find the person's name, we'll refer to the website or the article or something like that. But again, in this case, we're okay because this is for education and we're not making a profit off of somebody else's work. So we're allowed to use this image for this purpose. So go ahead and click. I'm going to click on this Gruffalo. And it's going to pull it up in this side area. That's fine. I don't need it to go to another window. And like with anything, please don't download stuff without asking your parents. I know that this is safe, that this isn't going to download anything to my computer. I can't see what you're seeing. So just make sure that before you do download this, that somebody checks it out and makes sure everything is good to go and isn't going to cause problems. So I'm going to hover on this image. You can see my cursor, the little pointer finger, and then I'm going to right click, and you will get an option that says save image as. And this isn't permanent, but I want to be able to access it quickly, so I'm going to save it to my desktop, and I'm just going to I'm going to save it as Gruffalo pic, because I know that tells me what it is. It's the Gruffalo picture that I need. And then I'm just going to press save. And so you can see down here in my Chrome browser, it tells me it's downloaded. So now that that's downloaded, I'm going to go over here into Scratch. And I'm going to go to, we're going to go to choose a sprite. And then at the very top, we have upload a sprite. So we're going to choose that option. And normally, so if you just did regular download, it will go into your downloads folder. I chose desktop because I don't have to go digging through all my downloads to find it. So I'm going to choose the Gruffalo picture and press open. It's importing, and it's not actually transparent. So that background should have been transparent, but didn't show up as it. So I'm going to, we're going to try one thing in costumes before I go back and try and find another one. Okay, so once this is, okay, we don't, okay, so we're not changing anything there. So I'm actually going to go back and look for another one, because that background, even though this should be transparent, isn't transparent for, oh, I know why. JPEG, so if you see down here, It's saved as Gruffalo pic.jpg. JPEG files do not support transparent. So when I save image as, I need to save it as a PNG. So to do that, I would just do .png at the end, and that format will support transparent. I'm going to force it to use that extension. And now I'm going to try to re-upload that to see if it works. So same thing, go to choose a sprite, choose Gruffalo. Let's see if that fixed it. No. Okay, so I need to find a new icon. And you guys may have the same problem where you can't actually find the transparent photo, but we're gonna look for one anyways. It just might take a second. Let's see, this one says it's transparent. Let's try downloading this one. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to save image as, I'm going to save it as gruffalo2.png. And then I think before I upload it, I'm just gonna come over here and see if it actually is. So it's not actually transparent. Okay, we're gonna try, no. Sorry guys. We're gonna try one more time on this. So untitled. So my work is still there. It auto-saved for me, so I didn't lose the background at least. Let's do Gruffalo transparent background. Let's try that one instead. And I'm gonna look at this. So I don't think, okay. And we're saving. Okay, so Gruffalo 3 showed up here. Okay, so we're gonna try to upload this one. If this one isn't transparent, I'm just gonna go with it. It's tight enough crop, it might not affect things too much. Yeah, we're not finding a transparent background today. If you have editing tools and that's something you want to try and figure out, you're welcome to, but it's not needed for this activity. So we're going to stick with just having the background there because we need to do other things. So we have it, it's set to a size 100 right now. But if you go to step 5, we're actually going to change it to a size 10 because it needs to be small to fit into our maze. So in the size option here in the sprites panel, we're going to change it to 10 and then hit enter. And you see it made it really small. That's fine. That's actually perfect. Okay, so that's going to fit. Let's do a quick check because I do have the borders. So that fits perfectly inside our maze. So we're having some problems finding those transparent backgrounds. If you can't find one, that's okay. We can still do it without it. We'll just have a white background. It's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and delete those before I forget. I don't need to save them. Okay, so moving on to our actual coding. So we're going to have our starting event is going to be when the green flag is clicked, and we're going to tell it to start at a certain position in our screen, which is going to be our starting point, right? Every time we start, we want to be at the starting point of our maze. So we're going to go to our events drawer and grab a when green flag clicked button, and then you're going to go to the motion drawer and grab this go to X and Y block. And so those coordinates, you can see this go to -7.8 and y -112. Those match what are over here, which is where I am at the circle. So those might be perfect. And here it says negative 129 to negative 80. So let's see what happens when I do that. Negative 129, negative 89? Yeah, negative 89. So if I hit the green flag, that puts me up here. So mine is a little different than the example on this sheet. That's okay. So what we're going to do instead is you're going to drag your sprite to kind of the middle of the starting circle. And then we're going to use the X and Y values from there, from our sprites panel, to set this one. So for me, the middle is about negative 170 for X and negative 111 for Y. So now, if I move the sprite up there, it will always reset it back here when I hit the green flag. So you guys can go ahead and use your own coordinates for what your start point is going to be. If you don't know how to get the negative sign, that is just the minus sign on your keyboard. It's the button right next to the 0 with the 2 lines on it. So there's one kind of at the top and a smaller one towards the bottom of the key. If you just hit that once, you'll get the negative signs. So let's move on to step 7. We're going to go to the events drawer, and we're going to grab the Win Space Key Press. So this event is going to tell us how to move is going to give us the controls to move within the maze. So we're going to have it set up in a way that unless you're doing a certain thing, we're not going to be able to move, which is good because if you start the program and you already have it moving the way we're going to have the sprite move throughout the maze, you would lose automatically depending on a certain situation. I don't want to spoil it for you. So we're going to use the Win Space Key Press block, and then we're going to use a forever block and 2 if statements. And these are going to be a separate block than what we have. So in the events drawer, let's grab the Win Space Key Press block. And in the control, you're going to grab our forever block. So for as long, so we'll be able to do this forever until another situation occurs. So if that's us hitting the red stop sign button, that's what will stop it, or we'll code something else to make it stop within the program. And then we're going to grab 2 if statements, and these will be nested inside the forever loop. So I'm going to put the first one there, and then I'm coming underneath that first if statement, but still inside the forever loop, and putting the second. So we're going to have 2 separate situations to check here. Okay, so on page 3, no, sorry, this activity sheet goes back to the top. So page 2, step 8, we're going to go into the motion drawer, and we're going to use a go-to block, and this go-to block is going to follow the mouse pointer. So wherever our mouse is on the screen, that's what where our sprite is going to go to, which is why we don't want to be able to move it unless unless the space key has been pressed. So we don't want to start the game and already have our mouse somewhere else, and I'll explain that in a little bit. And then we're going to have our sprite say a couple things in 2 different situations. So if we wander off of our path, we're going to have a message that says we're lost. And if we make it all the way through to the end of the forest, to the end of our maze, it will say, yay, we made it through. So let's go ahead and add those blocks in. So in our motion drawer, we're going to get this go to random position block and put it in on top of our first if statement here, and change it to mouse pointer. So let's show you real quick what's going to happen with that. So if I start the program, it puts me here in the center, and then if I hit the space key, now this block is active. And you saw how because of where my mouse is, that the image is trying to get to me. That's why when we start it, we want to make sure that our mouse is hovering over the sprite so that we can move it through and we won't automatically go off the maze. Okay, so let's add our reactions. So those are in the looks drawer, and they're this first block. So we're going to grab 2 of this say hello for 2 seconds. And we're going to put 1 inside that first if statement and the second in here. So for the first one, we want to say, oh no, you are lost. And we just want to say that for 1 second. So to do all of that, I just clicked inside those bubbles and typed up the message. And then I clicked inside this bubble and typed the number 1. And for the second one, we're going to say you made it through the forest for 5 seconds. So the reason, so this is a really short message, so we don't need a long time to read it. This one's a little longer, and also it's like a celebratory good message, so you kind of want to see those. So that's why we have a longer time of it being displayed here. Okay, so now back in our activity sheet, we're on step 9, and we're going to go to the sensing drawer. So remember earlier, when I repeated many times that we needed to have 3 distinct or very different colors, this is why. We're going to have our program sense what color our sprite is touching. And if we're touching the background, then we're going to be considered lost in the game. And if we're touching the, once we get to the end, if we're touching that color, we will have made it through the forest. So we're going to go back in our program, and in the sensing block, we're going to grab this touching color block right here, so it's second from the top. And we're going to drag and drop it inside the if statement. So to do that, you see how I have this white highlight around this diamond shape hole here? When that highlight is visible, you can drop it in and it's going to snap right inside. So watch on this next one when I do that again. And you can come from above. Sometimes that one doesn't work. I think what works the best is if your cursor is close to that bubble. So you see how I have the hand there and it's close to the bubble. And when I come from this direction, the hand is close to that bubble. I think that's the real key, is that the cursor has to be near this when you're dropping it. Because if I try and come from this direction, it doesn't work until the cursor is within range. So yeah, so you'll just hover over it until you get that white bubble, and to get that white bubble, you need to make sure your cursor is close to it. So it's kind of, it looks like it's default to my, the end point of my maze, but I'm not sure about that. So if we're touching our background, we're going to be lost. So just like we did earlier to get the matching color for our line, we're going to use this eyedropper tool at the bottom. And I'm going to hover over the blue. So it's hard to tell because my background is so dark, but you can kind of see that there's a circle hovering over just the edge of the purple maze, but it's blue. That tells me that the color we're picking up is the blue color. So we're going to click that, and you'll see it turned blue here. To get rid of this box, just click over here in the white space. And now I just want to be sure that this is the right color, so I'm going to click on this one here. Click on the eyedrop and then hover over my end color. So it wasn't quite exactly, it was such a small movement, but my saturation and brightness levels did change. I'm not sure about the color, but those measurements did change. So definitely make sure that you use the eyedropper for both so that it's an exact match to what your colors are. Okay, so that was step 9. We're gonna head on to page 3 with step 10. So we're going to go to the motion drawer and we're going to grab another XY block. And we're going to add, so when we're going to add this block underneath our "oh no, you are lost" message, and it's going to send us back to our starting point. So instead of going back into the block, back into our drawers and getting another one and doing all the typing, we're going to do another way. So if you want, you can go back into the drawer, the motion drawer here, and grab this block and put it inside this if statement underneath the "oh no, you were lost" message, and just copy these coordinates. Or you can hover over this block, and if you have a mouse or a right-click enabled keyboard, right-click on your keyboard and do duplicate. So that's like copy. Duplicate is the same thing as copying. And I'm going to drag it and drop it underneath our say "oh no, you are lost" block. And it's running, so that's why my program's having a fit right now. Okay, so our last thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the, Okay, so we're gonna go back to our control drawer and we're gonna grab a stop block and put it underneath that coordinates. So remember, if I click on this, it says, oh no, you were lost, and it's like glitching constantly. We're gonna make sure that doesn't happen and that you can actually choose to restart the game. So go to the events drawer, right? No, control, my bad. Go to the control drawer and scroll almost all the way down. You'll see this stop all option. Grab that and we're going to connect it to the bottom of that second go to block. Yes, making sure. Okay, so now if I start this and I start going along and I'm going along, and it's going to happen in just a minute. Oh no, I got lost. It sent me back here. Our program's still running. I just have to hit the space key again. And now I'm going through the maze, and I'm going through the maze, and I'm going very slowly because it's such a small turn space that I don't want to get knocked out again. So we're going pretty slow. If you're really talented, you can go a lot faster than this. So I just barely got onto that green option, and I made it through the maze. You can see that my program, okay, so now we're lost and it restarts over. So it doesn't stop there. So that's also something you could add a stop all in here if you wanted it to stop working once you made it. So I could grab this stop all and restart the game and go all the way through the maze. So remember, it follows my mouse pointer, so I'm keeping my mouse on my sprite so that I have the most control over it. I've seen some kids do some crazy stuff. Okay, so I made it through the forest. It's going to show that message for 5 seconds, and now it's done. And nowhere is it moving. So you can add that in there if you just want it to end also when you win the maze. There's a couple other activities that you can try on your own, and if you can't get it to quite work, this is a great thing to come to us with on our live sessions. So you can add other decorations to the background and make it look more like a forest, and maybe make it a little bit more challenging to get through. And you can add more, you can go back and make a new background and add twists to your maze. Another thing you could do, because I'm sure we have some people who have been with us a while, you could make this a game. So if you get through this maze, there's a harder maze that it switches to, and you have to get through that one. If that's something you guys are interested in figuring out how to do, we can do that in the live session as well. Those are just some ideas so that you have things to work on or ways to explore more with this code. But that's all I have for you today. I hope you guys sign up for the live sessions. Remember, you just go to youthcodejam.org and go to Bits and Bytes Online and click on this green button that's about halfway down the page. Well, not even. It's probably like a quarter down the page now. Just click on that button and we'll take you to our active session. So that's all I have. Stay on the lookout for our new program that we're going to launch this week, and I hope to see you guys at our live sessions. Have a good day.